Okay, hi everyone.
And we're here again. It's day 2 of Friend-A-Thon 2017. I don't have the cool voice that Michelle has, but it's still really cool.
Welcome. We're just getting started, so let me just get things opening up and starting to broadcast to let people know that we're live. So we're going to do a live chat. So we're hoping some folks will be joining us on the Google Hangout. We're doing some fun technology to try this out, to have some fun with
it's
this.
Really fun.
And we're doing some beanie.
We're doing hats. Yes, yeah. Today is Caps Day.
It's cold weather out there, and but it's warm inside. We're going to spend some time talking to folks. So this is kind of what we're doing today. So,
it's really cool. And I think one of the things we wanted to do today. So yesterday we were talking a lot about fundraising, and this is still one of our fundraising periods. So a big part of the Friend-A-Thon is that we are looking for new friends who are helping to support the movement, who are donating, who are making those 2018 contributions, $20.18 to help us power the movement into the new year. But we also wanted to talk a little bit about like the issues and the things we talked a bit yesterday, just about building the movement, the spirit that we kind of want to bring into this, and a lot of the general principles about building power that we have for the campaign. And you also got to hear from a few of our supporters and folks who were here during the phone bank that we were doing as part of the Friend-A-Thon. And today we want to talk a little bit more about the issues, some of the key things that we're focusing on in the campaign as we, and there will be more of our issue platforms that will roll out in 2018, but our first 4 issue platforms we released earlier this year when we launched the campaign.
Yeah. So again, we just want to say welcome to folks who are joining us online. I'm Michelle Whitaker. I'm the campaign manager for Brandy Brooks.
And I am Brandy Brooks, candidate for Montgomery County Council at Large.
And Brandy, why don't you tell folks a little bit about what the County Council does and why you're running for office?
Sure. So the County Council, this is our local legislative body in Montgomery County. And it deals with all sort of these different aspects of our day-to-day lives that we don't normally think about. When we look at how our communities develop, how land is used, whether, where we have parks, where we have housing, where we have businesses, all those different sorts of things, those are plans and pieces that the county council oversees and really makes approvals on the different development projects and things that are going to go on around the county. When you talk about how we fund transportation projects here in the county, there's some of that comes from state and federal dollars, but there's also a lot of that planning and money that comes at the local level, including things like our local bus system here in Montgomery County, Ride On. When you look at a lot of things around the economy and economic development, this really happens at the local level. There's Montgomery County's council just recently passed the $15 minimum wage ordinance, the first county here in Maryland to do so, and following a range of different cities that have done this across the nation. And this is an important thing for folks who work here in Montgomery County to get us closer to making sure that everyone who works here in Montgomery County has a living wage in one of the most expensive jurisdictions that we have. So things like that are controlled at the local level, as well as how we support small businesses and how we attract various sizes of businesses to our community. And, there's just so much more stuff. Taxes, a thing that people are often familiar with. The county council does raise revenue from residents and businesses here in the county to help fund the various services that we have. And there are a lot of different service programs that we have as well, whether that's around, again, support of small businesses, support for older folks in our community, support for healthcare for children in our community, support around food and housing access for low-income individuals in our community. There's a lot of those different kinds of services that come through the county council as well. And one of the biggest things that is a part of Montgomery County's budget, which is over $5 billion, one of the biggest chunks of that is actually on our education system. About half of that budget goes to fund the Montgomery County Public Schools. And the Board of Education makes the determination specifically around how those different funds are spent, but it's the county council that authorizes how much money goes to the schools in order to be able to fund teachers, in order to be able to fund maintenance of school buildings, and the various programs that help our children learn at every level through the county.
So, and we'll talk a little bit about taxes because that has been
it's been a big issue here in the county.
News,
absolutely,
both nationwide and,
yes.
and specifically for the county. But what we're doing right now, today, and what we started yesterday, is our Friend-A-Thon 2017, and we're very excited about that.
Yep.
But it's all about us connecting with neighbors, friends, folks in our communities,
yep.
to help build awareness about Brandy's campaign and why we're excited by. There's so many people who are excited about the campaign and have taken an extra step to get involved, to do various activities. Yesterday, it was really exciting. We had the opportunity to have folks here who were helping to phone bank for us and make over 100 calls to folks throughout the county. And again, we want to thank everyone, all of the volunteers who were able to stop by.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, that was so awesome to have you here, right here at the campaign headquarters to help us to do that. And then we also were able to write postcards to folks, and we wrote over 150 postcards that are being shipped out in the mail. And so that's exciting that, there are many people that will be getting some postcards that they'll be introduced to Brandy, or it's their second introduction to Brandy if they've gotten a phone call and now they're getting a postcard to talk about Brandy, to learn more about Brandy, and then have the opportunity to do that next step, which is to help to donate or to sign up and to get more information. And that's why we're doing this Friend-A-Thon. We're doing the online piece to, again, encourage people. We want you to be involved. We want you, if you're a supporter of Brandy, to do that next step and to get involved as well.
Absolutely.
And so we want you to, you're connecting with us in via Google Hangout. You're connecting with us on social media. You're connected with us in the campaign in different ways. Share this with your friends. Share this with your family members, your coworkers, whoever Let them know about Brandy's campaign. Encourage them to get involved, and then encourage them to visit our website.
Yes.
What's the website?
Website is Brandy, Brandy, 4 Montgomery.com. And you can go on there. You can see our various issue platforms. You can read a little bit more about my background and the various activities that we've been running over the past 8 months of the campaign. You can also, of course, sign up to volunteer and join Team Brandy, as well as making a contribution on the page. There's that big blue donate button right at the top of the page that allows you to make that financial contribution. And again, building this campaign, building this movement, really, which is what we're seeking to do, is all about getting you involved. And Michelle, you asked me, why I was running, not only what the county council does, but why I was running for county council. And the reason that I'm running is because I believe that all of us should be active participants in shaping the policies and systems that govern our lives. This should happen at every level, but we start here at the local level, with the level that is closest to us. And I think so many of us don't really know what goes on with our local government, don't really feel like we have access to government in general, don't really feel like it represents us, and don't feel like we have power to be able to shape what happens. We kind of just think we sort of receive whatever gets decided by these folks, at the county council building or city hall or, Congress or the White House. And the thing is, though, that democracy is really about us. It's about us being involved. It's about us being the people who are shaping the priorities of what goes in our government. And that government is designed to serve and support us. And so I am running because I want all of us to be engaged in that process. I want all of us to know that our voices matter, not just our votes at the ballot box every 2 to 4 years, but our participation all along the way, being a part of hearings, being a part of various decision-making bodies here in the council, showing up and making sure that our representatives know us, they know what our priorities are, and they know that they're accountable to us. And I'm running because I want to build a big, empowered movement of people all across Montgomery County who are actively engaged in making sure that the policies and systems that we have here in the county are meeting our needs and are supporting our aspirations.
Yeah, it's really cool. So let's talk about some of the issues that you are working on. One of the key issues on your website that you talk about is housing and affordable housing.
Yes, affordable housing is one of my biggest heart issues. So we are renters here in Montgomery County. And so even in looking at what housing means in Montgomery County, I'm looking at it in a little bit of a different way than what you will see from many folks who are running for office. Most folks who are running for office own their homes in Montgomery County, and that's great. But there are between 30 and 40% of us who live here in the county who are renters. And we need to make sure that that perspective of what it means to rent and what it means to be valued members of our community as renters as well as homeowners is respected when we talk about housing policy. And in general, whether we're talking about rental or home ownership, housing is incredibly expensive in Montgomery County. This is one of the most expensive jurisdictions to live in. And it's become a crisis, honestly. There are people who are living in all sorts of unsafe or overcrowded conditions here in the county, people who are struggling to make their rent payments every month, people who are struggling to make sure that their landlords are taking care of the places where they live and are respecting their rights as tenants. And we have to be working on these issues to make sure that there is housing for all folks who want to live in Montgomery County. Montgomery County has seen tremendous growth over the past decades, but our production of housing and our production of housing at all income levels is not keeping up. So we've got to make sure that we're doing things to protect affordability, to protect tenants as well as landlords, and to make sure that we are investing in producing more housing for all folks in the county in a lot of different ways. And, Montgomery County has some innovations that it's been known for a long time, like the what's called the moderately priced dwelling unit program, which is an inclusionary zoning program that mandates a certain amount of affordable housing to be in every development, every large development that goes on in Montgomery County. And this is one tool that we originated here that has been used since then in other cities and counties to try and make sure that there's a certain percentage of affordability that's built into any new development. But we have to look at those numbers. Right now, the affordability percentage is only 12.5%. And when you look at inclusionary zoning regulations, that's actually on the high side. There are a lot of them, they're at 10 or sometimes even lower than that. But if you think about the percentage of people in our county who need housing affordability, it's definitely more than just 12%. And large developers aren't the only way that we produce affordable housing, but we want to make sure as we're investing in developers and having them come and make good money off of building housing here in Montgomery County, that we are also getting the things that we need for the county in terms of affordably priced units. So raising that inclusionary zoning amount to 15% instead of 12% is one of the things that I'm really interested in as a policy piece. But also looking at other ways that we can be creatively producing affordable housing. So I've been working in community planning and community development for over a decade now. And one of the things that I've seen connecting with friends and colleagues across the country is that there are a lot of different mechanisms that folks are using to be able to produce affordable housing. Folks are looking at things called accessory dwelling units that are ways that people who have larger parcels of land can build smaller units that might be able to house a younger member of their family or an older member of their family. Sometimes they're called in-law apartments or grandparent apartments, things like that. But that can be used as a way to add housing in a pretty affordable, sort of smaller way on existing plots. There are also ways that we can be making more use of cooperative housing development, where a bunch of people are investing and sharing the ownership for developing a larger group of units. And rather than having large developers who don't necessarily live in and invest in the county, be the ones who are focused on developing our housing, that's owned and developed by a group of people who come together and pool their resources to be able to create those kinds of developments. Those are different mechanisms. I also think that there are many places around the country that have much stronger affordable housing community development community in a region this large. And I think we need to be supporting more smaller developers, more community-based developers, interesting mechanisms like community land trusts. There are a ton of different things that we can be exploring and supporting for people to innovate around housing in Montgomery County. And I want to make sure that we're doing that we're bringing the best ideas that we can here to the county, and that we're continuing to make progress and not solely relying on one mechanism that's now, I think, almost 30 years old, the moderately priced dwelling unit program. Yeah. We need new mechanisms that help us keep pace with the current times that we are in.
Awesome. Very cool. And so that's one part of your platform, the housing, and very tightly connected to that is an economy for all, which is another piece of your platform.
Absolutely. And again, the link between housing affordability and a just economy, an equitable economy, is really important. One of the reasons that people struggle to be able to pay for housing and the total cost of housing and transportation here in the county is because they're not making enough money. There are a lot of folks who literally, just from what they make here in the county, can't afford to live in this very expensive area. And so we need to be making sure that we are supporting a strong base wage for everyone in our community. And when we think about, again, the history of the minimum wage, it was designed to be a minimum livable wage for people, like a floor that ensured that anyone who worked had a good and strong wage. We tend to think about minimum wage jobs now, you know, folks will always say, well, it's just for teenagers and for people getting into the economy. But that's not true. It certainly hasn't been true since the 2008 recession. And, you know, across the board, really, it's not just young people who work for minimum wage. People who are working all sorts of jobs and supporting themselves, supporting family members, supporting children, are working at that minimum wage. And so it's really critical that we ensure that that's a wage that people can actually live on here in the county, because that's what it was designed to do. And, you know, Montgomery County, again, with the passage of the $15 minimum wage law, has taken an important step toward that kind of economic equity and justice here in Montgomery County. But there's more that we need to be doing. That the wage is just one piece of it. We also have to make sure that wages are paid fairly, that they're paid fairly by gender. The wage gap by gender still continues to exist in the United States and in Montgomery County and Maryland. And we have to be addressing that. We have to be making sure that that equal wage laws are being enforced here in the county, as well as across the state of Maryland. We have to make sure that, again, there's not wage disparity by race and ethnicity, which is another things that come up, that people of color, both men and women, are paid less than their white counterparts. And it's critical that we ensure that that kind of disparity doesn't persist in our economy.
Yeah.
We need to be protecting workers' rights, the right to safety, the right to collectively bargain. Montgomery County has a number of different excellent unions that represent various public and private sector workers here in Montgomery County. And we need to support workers who want to organize to make sure that their rights are protected. I think sometimes we don't realize how much all of us actually owe in terms of our workers' rights to unions and to the history of unionization in this country. The reason that we have, you know, sort of this base 40-hour work week, as opposed to working all of the hours that an employer can possibly squeeze out of us, is because unions fought for that right to have that balance, to have limits on how much you could work, to make sure that there were limits on child labor, to make sure that there were appropriate measures that were taken to ensure that people are safe in the workplace. So all of these different kinds of things, to make sure that there are appropriate and fair discipline practices for hiring and for firing. So much of these things we owe to unions and to other ways that workers have organized. And we want to support, again, creative ideas for how we get together and look at the way that our economies can be developed. Christy Balch, who was on our program yesterday, and who's one of our volunteers working on some of the postcard writing and the phone banking, talked about the work that she does through the Crossroads Community Food Network and the way that they are supporting small entrepreneurs and the way that they are supporting small businesses, potentially promoting cooperatives, looking at the ways that you can give people access to space, access to training, access to financing. And it's actually great, Shell. Kenny Wilson, who is our friend and fundraiser, has joined us for this broadcast. And one of the reasons that I love having Kenny on our team is because he also is just hugely supportive and constantly working in entrepreneurship for people across Montgomery County. And so, Kenny, would you like to introduce yourself to the folks who are watching and connecting?
Hello, everyone. Sorry, I'm just getting in.
I think you might be muted, Kenny. So hold on one second. Let's get your audio on.
You can't hear me. Oh, okay.
Let's see.
Wait, hold on. He's definitely
We've got audio.
Can you hear me now?
This is live broadcast, so we're just trying to make sure we got
all live. I know. Can you guys hear me?
All right, so Kenny, you might need to find. Sometimes I think the headphones work if that's not working. So we'll let you go and find a little bit of headphones. But
yeah,
I'm working on a technical issue. The link.
Sure.
I needed to update the link. So,
okay.
So I'm working on that. So hold on one second.
Perfect. So this is the fun of live broadcasting, is that you sort of deal with technical issues and with the excitements of playing with new technology in real time. But one of the things that we were talking about is, again, the different kinds of support that are critical for developing a thriving and just economy here in Montgomery County. And again, whether that's making sure that we're training small businesses, whether that's making sure that we're finding new ways to give businesses access to capital, whether that means we're looking at different ownership models like worker cooperatives and various ways that employers and employees can be pooling together to share in the decision making about our economy and about our workplaces, as well as to share in the profits and the economic benefits of our workplaces. These are the different kinds of things that we can be doing to support a strong and healthy and equitable economy. So let's see, Kenny, how are you doing? You online there?
Can you guys hear me now?
No, we've still got you muted. So let's see what we can do here.
Oh my goodness.
Let me just go to my controls and
okay.
see what we got.
So I'm going to see if we can get Kenny online here.
Any better? This is hilarious.
1 second.
She's on my phone.
Okay. Let's see.
You should have audio, right?
It does look like you should.
I should. Yeah. Everything.
Actually, if you click that, it's not gonna.
Nope.
Okay. No, that's. All right. Huh. All right. So we're not totally sure why we're not hearing Kenny. So we're going to continue to work on that. But one of the things I'll say just in a little bit of introduction while he's here as part of the broadcast is that I initially met Kenneth coming out of one of his trainings for small business entrepreneurs, talking to people about what it looks like to begin starting a business, how you begin to lay out your plan, how you connect to the things that you are really excited about doing and turn the amazing ideas that you have for a business or a project that you want to work on into an actual functioning enterprise. And Kenny has been doing this with so many people across Montgomery County and really across the region. And these are the kinds of things that we need to be supporting. There are other folks that I've talked to who work in community colleges, who work in different places and want to be supporting folks who are starting all manner of enterprises that are thriving and are building up our economy. And so that economy is one of the other platforms that we're really focused on. Another key platform that's important to us here in the campaign is transportation. And you'll notice when you look at housing, the economy, transportation, these things are all intimately linked. And transportation is something that supports both our residential and our commercial ways of living and the things that we want to do and how we get around between home and work, how we connect to each other's homes and connect business to business. All of that relies on a good transportation network. And one of the things that we know just from long history of studying transportation in the United States and certainly in this region is that you have to have a transportation system that operates multiple modes. What that means is that there have to be a lot of different ways of getting around that function for everyone. So you start with roadways, and roadways are a critical piece of our transportation infrastructure, but it can't just be about cars on the road. We all know what it looks like when everyone's trying to pile into their car and to get on our regional and local roadways, and everything moves tremendously slowly when you do that. Public transit, using our bus system, using our light rail and heavy rail systems, our local transportation network, as well as our regional transportation network. These are the things that we need to make sure is another important layer in addition to our roadways that is supporting how we get back and forth to the places that we want to be, and making sure that good transit access is available to all of our different population centers here in Montgomery County. We've got folks not just in the down county where a lot of the public transportation is focused right now, but folks who are in East County, folks who are in Up County, who also need to rely on public transportation as a way to get around, as a more affordable means of transportation. And we need to make sure that that is also a very efficient and effective means of transportation, that it gets people to where they need to go and in a timely manner. And that requires investing in building out our transit network as much as we've invested in building out our road network, and making sure that the two link up in really strong ways. And then on top of that, the other layer that we don't want to forget about are actually just sort of more pedestrian ways of getting around. So walking and biking. These are additional modes of transportation that are the most efficient in terms of energy use. They have the additional benefits often of supporting our physical health as well in terms of our level of physical activity. And they can be really critical connectors between these other modes of transportation. So when you have good walking and biking paths that then allow people to connect to transit nodes, or allow people to connect to roadways where they might be getting on buses or where they might be getting into their cars. When you're supporting bike sharing and car sharing programs, then you start to have a lot of different ways that we are supporting people being able to get around the county safely, affordably, efficiently, and effectively. And that's really what we want to be focused on in our transportation network.
Kenny, are you still having issues? Let's see.
Let's try this again. Can you hear me now?
We still can't hear Kenny.
Okay.
I'm sorry, folks, that we're having some technical difficulties with that, so we'll have to figure out what's going on.
Right.
But that's a shame. So yeah. This is we're trying some new technology to have some fun with folks, but we'll figure this out. Hopefully tomorrow. We do have another hangout tomorrow. We'll see if we can get this working for tomorrow, and we can bring back Kenny. We'll bring back Kenny tomorrow to join us. If we can't get him today. So.
Yeah, and Kenny, I think if you want to stay on, and we do have the chat feature that we have here. So if you wanted to post some things in the chat and we can sort of read and correspond a little bit that way, then we can do that, and that'll be a great way for you to still participate. So if there's anything you want us to share out to the crowd, please go ahead and send us that chat now. And yeah, so, we talked about transportation, and when we look at both road and transit projects here in Montgomery County, transportation is one of the biggest issues in Montgomery County. And in particular, folks are really frustrated about traffic. Folks are really frustrated about not feeling like there's been a lot of development that has happened all across the county, particularly in the upper regions of the county, and that there hasn't been the infrastructure to support that development, particularly when it comes to transportation. And folks who live up in kind of Germantown, Clarksburg, Gaithersburg, some of those upper regions of the county have unbelievable commutes. And it's mostly by car because we don't have a lot of good transit infrastructure that goes up to those regions. And if you've ever spent time on I-270, which is our big highway that runs through Montgomery County and kind of the center and west of Montgomery County, if you've ever been on there at rush hour, you know that it can take a couple of hours to get from downtown DC up into Germantown, Gaithersburg, Clarksburg, all those sorts of areas up north. And that's a tremendous amount of time for someone to be spending commuting back and forth between home and work. And then even when folks are doing kind of their local driving around, the roadways that we have up in the upper part of our county are not sufficient to handle all of the traffic of just people going back and forth to daily errands and to the daily routines that they have. So we've got to come up with better transit solutions for different parts of our county. You also look on the East County and you look at folks who live up the Route 29 corridor. And right now, so you've got Route 29 that just comes down, which isn't even as large of a highway as a 270, serving a lot of folks on East County. And you've got a small set of commuter buses that run a very limited schedule up and down Route 29, only kind of during rush hour, morning rush hour and evening rush hour. So if folks need to travel any other times on Route 29, there's no public transit available over there. And again, there's very limited public transit even during the rush hour to handle the level of traffic that's coming down that roadway. And so, there are key projects that folks are looking at. One of the ones that I think is most exciting for Montgomery County is what we call Bus Rapid Transit, the BRT. And this is a system of buses with dedicated lanes, dedicated rights of way that are devoted solely to that buses to allow bus transportation to go up and down these roadways in a really efficient manner and to be able to serve as good, effective transportation for a lot of people up and down these BRT corridors. Route 29 is one of the first places that the bus rapid transit is being built out, and they're in the process of doing planning and development for that first stage of the bus rapid transit right-of-ways, as well as the various stations that are going to be along Route 29. And I'm so excited about this project. It's the first of what I hope will be many bus rapid transit routes that are going on across Montgomery County. I think, along with Route 29, one of the other key priority routes is Route 355, which kind of goes along the center and west and up into Up County. And this is a very busy, highly congested roadway that also has a strong need for efficient and effective bus transit beyond the areas where the metro goes and making sure that people can get back and forth. There are some different projects. One of them is called the Corridor City Transit Way. Another one's called the Purple Line that are trying to get people across the county as well, because we don't all just radiate out from DC. We want to move back and forth within Montgomery County, and we need to make sure that there are great ways to get across as well. And then we want to combine that with good roadway improvements. There are places where 270 will need to be widened. There are places where we need to look at managing traffic on some of our roadways. But it's how we weave all of that together to create a really solid transportation system. That's the kind of thing that we need to be looking at and planning for and connecting to housing development, connecting to economic development for Montgomery County.
So as we've talked about housing, economic development, and we've talked about transportation, I think a key piece, especially when you're talking about transportation and the impact of transportation, of building roads, of driving, the impact, the environment.
Yeah.
So
this is huge.
And especially with a county that has very uniquely a large portion of it has an agricultural reserve. And that is something that I know many of us lift up and say, like, that's a unique feature of our county. It's something we want to preserve. It's a balance that we want to make sure that we maintain, that we're not, paving over, our farmland or agricultural spaces to build highways and the impact that has. So how do we create that sustainability in our county when we do have growing needs, transportation needs? How do you create that?
Yeah. And, this is such an important question, because we want to make sure that we are respecting one of the biggest assets of Montgomery County, which is that we are a county with a tremendous natural resources. We've got beautiful parkland. We've got beautiful open space. We've got beautiful waterways. And we want to be protecting all of those things. And we also know that we're facing globally, and this impacts us locally, the threat of climate change and the increasing warming of the planet, and how that's affecting our weather patterns, how that is affecting food production, how that's affecting all these different systems across the county and across the country and the globe. And so we need to be looking at, like, sustainability is a key factor in this. We want to make sure that people are getting around efficiently, but we also want to make sure that we're doing it in a way that we are creating a good environment for ourselves and leaving a good environment and a good planet for our children. I think about this a lot when I think about my niece and my nephews, and what is the world that they are going to have to live in when it comes 20 or 30 years down the line. And actually, I see that my sister has just joined and has showed us a little bit of a picture of my nephew right there, hanging out in his playpen. And again, like there's a lot of what I do when I think about why I'm running. It's about, how do I build a better world for these amazing people who I love, who are part of my family. And I want to make sure that they grow up in a healthy place. I want to make sure that they can breathe the air, that they can drink the water, that they still have access to green space and transportation, as well as energy use. These are key things that contribute to sustainability on our planet. And so I think, in addition to just making sure that there's equity in how we travel, this is also a huge part of making sure that we leave our children a good planet, because what we do today will impact what they have access to tomorrow.
Yeah. And actually,
sorry.
hold on. Sorry. Kenny, can you hear us? Kenny, can you say something? Let me just hear it.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Okay. Kenny, it wasn't you. It was us.
Okay.
Now, actually, Kenny, why don't you share a little bit? And Becky, I'm going to mute you just.
No, I just muted. I'm sorry.
No problem.
All right. So we realized that the technical difficulty was our end, and you all may well have heard Kenny talking that entire time. So, Kenny, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit?
Well, again, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kenny Wilson, and I am Brandy's friend and fundraiser. I am a Silver Spring native. I grew up in Montgomery County. I love this area. I've lived in Silver Spring my entire life. I do a couple of different things. I'm an entrepreneur as well. I also work with a lot of different nonprofit small businesses, helping them build their capacity, fundraising, things like that. As Brandy mentioned, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, people who are looking to start businesses, nonprofits, or even community projects, wherever they like. And I try to work with them on a personal level, also help them through the process of starting that business or whatever project they're trying to start, but also work with them, not just with filing paperwork and going through the technical stuff, but also working with them to own entrepreneurship, become leaders. So I do a lot of like leadership development, coaching, things like that. And then I also do a lot of just connecting in the community, working with especially nonprofits, especially in this area, trying to get them rooted into the community, trying to connect them to resources and other people who may be able to help them along the way as well. And so for the campaign, that's one of the things that we're trying to do as well. We're trying to connect people. In my opinion, this campaign also, in Montgomery County, it's really about how can we begin to connect each other? How can we begin to connect each other and build our capacity as well? And then we can begin to access resources and work with our leadership as well to do those things. So one of the things I'm really passionate about, I'm passionate about people. And I'm passionate about how we can begin to work together. How can we take away a lot of the things that have traditionally held us back in the past from connecting, whether it's through certain racial groups, socioeconomic groups, whatever the case may be, and begin to come together. And that's one of the things I like to do, and kind of be the bridge for a lot of people and just connect on a personal level. And sometimes I was actually just speaking about this yesterday, and someone asked me, well, how can we begin to do that? And I said, one of the first things we can begin to do is just start speaking to each other. Start to begin to say hello. Do little things for people in just our daily travels. I find that little things for me go a long way. And that's one of the things that really connected me to branding, connected me to this campaign, was that we're really trying to connect with people on a personal level. You know, as we go around, and even as it amazes me just the people that, have really come on board and help with the campaign, myself included, was just like Brandy said, we started at just a personal level. It was this connection. We kind of bumped into each other. We ran into each other here. Conversation started. And before you know it, we learned about each other, and we found that, wow, we share a lot of common interests. We really want to help people, and how can we begin to do that? And so that's where we are now. And even some of the things we're doing, and even as you've heard Brandy talk about some of the things that she's really passionate about and some of the things she's pushing for in the campaign, the roots kind of come back, and I hear this all the time, they come back to the people, and so I hope everyone, we can begin to ask those questions. How can we work together? Things like transportation. A lot of us share, myself included, those concerns. A lot of those share those issues, our long commutes. We live in an area with a lot of people. We're trying to get places. I used to have a commute where I'd go from Silver Spring to DC, and it was an hour and a half each way. And I know a lot of people share that. So it's like, how can we begin to come together, connect, and have those conversations, and then collectively work with our leadership on trying to solve those issues. We share a lot of the same things. People in Montgomery County, I found that we want the same things. We share a lot of common issues, a lot of common struggles, a lot of good things as well too. But we're in different pockets, we're in different areas, and sometimes we don't know because I live in Silver Spring, and sometimes the people in Germantown, Clarksburg, they feel the same thing, but I would never know. And so it's like, how can we begin to bring those conversations together from all parts of the county? And I've found so far that we do. And now it's like, okay, how can we begin to have these conversations? What solutions can we begin to formulate? And then how can we present them to leadership? How can we all work together to make these things happen? So I know I've talked a lot. Kick it back to Bray.
No, that's perfect. And again, I'm glad that we were able to get things resolved so that you were all set and we could tell that folks could hear you. And Kenny, because you are a lifelong Montgomery County resident, I want to hear from you. What do you think are some of those challenges that Montgomery County faces? The reasons why we don't connect as people, even though, in fact, so many of us share different aspects of the same concern across the county.
Yeah, and I do. I believe we have some divides here. I think some of it is social economical. I think some of it's racial. I think some of it's regional as well too. I found that even though we all move around, we still don't really get outside of our little niches, our little groups, and unless you're the person who actually moves between those groups, whether it's through work or through your commute or through friends, whatever it is, you really don't get to experience and get to meet people in other areas of the county. Like I said, we're divided a lot of different ways. So for me, like, I grew up in Silver Spring. I love Silver Spring, but until I began to venture, like, for example, up county, it's a little different. It is. There's a little different culture. People a little different, and not to say that's a bad thing, but I just didn't know. I had no idea. Their concerns were somewhat different. Some of the things we do share, like I said, like transportation, I think we all share that. But it wasn't until I started to meet people outside of my circle, my region, and I think we still have those barriers to this day. And I think one of the things is there's never been anyone or any group that's really been trying to bridge those gaps. We talk about it a lot, and but to be honest, as a county resident, I haven't seen individuals or groups that have really made forth a real effort to begin to bring the people together. I think people have tried within groups, and they're still trying to work within these groups, whether it's, like I said, it's racial, it's regional, whatever. But I don't think anyone's tried to now take those groups and bring them together at a county level. That's something I don't think I've ever experienced as a county resident here, which again excites me about the campaign, because I feel like that's one of the things we're really trying to do. It's one of the things I'm very passionate about, because I have not seen that. And so I think that's going to be new for people. I think it takes a different way of looking at things and kind of looking at how we connect as a community. Because I know just being in the community and working through things for years, I found that, in terms of, we kind of hoard. We hoard our resources. We kind of hoard the people we work with because everyone's fighting for dollars. Everyone's fighting for their niche in their space and trying to do their initiatives and projects and things like that.
Yeah.
And so we are kind of looking inward, and we kind of, it's very competitive. And so everyone's kind of looking over their shoulder like, I hear you, but no, I don't, I'm afraid to kind of open up. I'm afraid to kind of partner because is that gonna strain my resources? And am I gonna lose resources? Am I gonna lose people? And so the one thing we haven't realized yet is that no, it won't. It won't strain your resources. It won't hurt. Partnership and collaboration will benefit everyone. And there are things that we all do well, but then there's a lot of things that we all don't do individually. And to work with other people, we begin to see that, hey, you do something I don't do, or you do something better than I do. I do something well that you don't do. Let's work together, and now we can really combine forces and make things better. And I think that works not just for businesses. I think that works for, especially our nonprofit sector, our organizations. I think that works for just about any industry in this county.
Absolutely. And, it's interesting, Kenny, you touched on one of these key reasons why I'm really excited to run at large, is because of this opportunity to be a connector that brings the different parts of our county together, that allows us to understand that each one of us, whatever our background is, wherever we live, the different things that we do, we bring tremendous resources to our county. And the way that we function best as a county is actually by not staying in our silos, not staying in our little pockets, but by coming together to understand how we take advantage of all of the resources that all of us bring. And one of the key ways that I kind of got into this was through the work that I've done on food justice, on making sure that people have access to healthy food, on making sure that folks at all different parts of the food system, whether you're growing food or processing it or selling it or eating it, are healthy, have dignity, are respected in the pieces of work that they do and in what they contribute. And when you work in food systems, you really begin to see the interconnectedness of what goes on. You also begin to realize, just as we were talking about, that there are things we all share. And one of the things I love working in food is you can talk about food with everybody because everybody eats. We've all got to do it in order to survive. So it's a great way to start this common platform of saying, look, we all have an investment in what happens and in making sure that our food doesn't make us sick, doesn't make our environment sick, and that every one of us gets to benefit from the way that we produce our food. And you can open up and start having conversations again about economic justice, about racial justice, about criminal justice, about labor laws, about all sorts of different things through that lens of what we share in common, which is this food system that we all rely on. You can talk about sustainability and how focusing on producing more locally instead of sort of a very nationalized and globalized food system actually makes our food system more secure. And it means that we have more control over it. We know more about what's in our food. These are things that, I hear so many people have concerns about when they talk about the health of their families, and when they talk about their values. And food is one of the other big issues. It's, sort of our fourth platform that we've released on the campaign in 2017. And one of the reasons is because of the work that I've been doing in the food system around healthy food for the past several years, and how I've seen that connected to the way that we look at the economy, the way that we look at supporting creative small businesses, how I've seen us look at the way that we look at labor and labor rights, the way that we look at immigration and how much our immigration system is tied to our food system. And then the opportunity that it provides. And talking, Michelle, you mentioned the Ag Reserve earlier that we have here in Montgomery County. This is it's such an amazing resource when you start to talk about healthy local food. We're a jurisdiction that has this big county that has really strong urban areas, but also a really well-preserved agricultural area. So we have a unique opportunity to create a very strong local food system right here in our county. And if we look at, again, providing opportunities for folks to be able to use farmland that's currently going underused right now and somewhat is under threat of development, to really put that back into strong production, and to do that in ways that support young farmers, that support farmers of color, that support immigrant farmers, that support women farmers, a lot of groups that haven't always been gotten equal opportunity in the food system. And then as well, if we look at how we are supporting small food businesses, how we are supporting access to healthy food through farmers markets, through different kind of grocery stores, through our own local production in urban as well as suburban and rural areas, there's so many things that we can be doing around healthy food in Montgomery County. And we've got Montgomery County has a local food policy council that is working on these issues. And one of the things that I'm really excited to do is to continue working not just on food access and on supporting great organizations like Manna Food Center that does a tremendous amount around making sure that emergency food is available to people who need it, but to going even onto those next levels of saying, how do we actually use our food system to eliminate poverty, to eliminate hunger, and to create opportunity for people across our county.
So yeah, I think that those are great things. Is Kenny?
No, he's still there.
Okay.
Yep,
and I don't know if Becky, do you want to add anything? You still there?
Oh, hold on.
Did you have me?
I'm still here, but Keenan's making a lot of noise in the background.
So Becky, I'd love for you obviously to introduce yourself just a little briefly, and we could have Keenan introduce himself, and you can translate if you want.
Okay, well, hi everyone. I'm Becky Arthur. I live in Northern Virginia, not in Montgomery County, but I support Brandy. If you can't tell from the picture, I'm actually one of her sisters. So this is a very much a family campaign, and I'm glad I could support her and help her out in any ways that I can with this campaign, because I think it's really important to support local candidates. And a lot of the issues that Brandy is championing, I think are great things. I think they're going to be fantastic for Montgomery County, and I'd like to see them spread elsewhere. So I think her movement would also be able to help me get involved in other areas for my local government on things that are important for me. So I'm very happy to support the campaign and hear all the great things that everyone's doing. And Keenan is very excited too.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Becky. So we're nearing the end of our live broadcast for today. And so I want to just give some updates about what we have continuing to do for our Friend-A-Thon, and how you can continue to support what we're doing as we're nearing the end of 2017. There's only a few more days, a couple more days.
It's totally crazy. There are 2 more days in 2017.
So crazy.
Who knew?
So this is our way of kind of wrapping it up. We're doing our version of a telethon. It's our Friend-A-Thon to kind of build support leading into 2018, to build support so that we can win and have a people power movement that really raises the level of the issues that matter most in our communities. That's what we've been talking about all today. It's about the issues that matter most to you, about our families, about our communities, about the having safe communities, about having communities where we're protecting our environment, where we have access to public transportation, where we have good jobs, good paying jobs, where we respect and the dignity of work, where we're respecting immigrant and welcoming immigrant communities, that we're fighting for families. All of these issues matter. And so we're really excited. I'm really excited to hear Brandy talk about these, and we're excited to go out into the community and talk to more people about these issues.
Yeah.
And we're going to have more opportunities to share this. with our Friend-A-Thon, tomorrow we have another live session, and we're excited to have more of our friends join us online. So that's going to be another hour-long session. That's tomorrow, which is Saturday, December 30th. That will be from 3 to 4 p.m. So you could join us online, and we'll have Kenny come back online with us to be to share with us again, and we'll be talking about other ways people can get involved with the campaign, but we'll also be able to have more of our supporters throughout the county with us to just kind of share and talk and chat with Brandy.
Absolutely.
We'll also be talking about the ways that you can get involved in terms of doing house parties and doing other meet and greets, or getting involved in the campaign, whether it's volunteering, being part of our different core team members, or other staff that we have. We have lots of different opportunities for people to be a part of our campaign, and there's lots of events happening that we're gearing up for. Some of the events that I'll just mention that we have: when we kick off 2018, we've got events happening right away. On January 6th, our first meet and greet. It's being hosted in Silver Spring by Lisa Layton, and you can look on our Facebook page for the event information, RSVP for that event. We'd love for you to come out for that first meet and greet on January 6th at 3 p.m. So that's our very first event in 2018. But as we're nearing the end of our Friend-A-Thon, so we have our live, our last live session tomorrow at 3, and then we're going to be at Mr. Smoothie on the 31st. So the last day of the new year, we're going to kick off your New Year's Eve celebration. We want you to come to Mr. Smoothie. We're doing a meet and greet from 2 to 4 p.m. At Mr. Smoothie in Rockville. And so we'd love for you to come out for a couple hours, be there with us, hang out, talk to Brandy. We can go, have some more conversations around the issues that we've talked here, other issues that you'd love that you want to talk to Brandy about. We're going to be there live. Yes. At Mr. Smoothie.
But we'll also be we'll also be doing a broadcast from Mr. Smoothie. So you'll get to hear a little bit more from us. You'll get to hear a little bit more from different folks who are at the event, able to share why they are a part of this movement and part of the community of what we're doing. Because as we mentioned, this is a people-powered, people-focused movement. We've talked about this idea that there are issues that we share just as people who, care about our health, who care about our families, who want to live in a good place. There are issues that we share across this county where we all have a shared interest in good housing, good transportation, a good economy, healthy food. And we are looking, as Kenny said, to bring people together from across the county to talk about these things that we all have an investment in, and to come up with solutions that make the use of all of our expertise, all of our talents, all of our enthusiasm to really make our county the best place that it can be for everyone who lives here.
Yep. And to close out, as I mentioned, we had a great phone bank last night and postcards. And as I said, we're going to be mailing out these wonderful postcards to folks in throughout the county. So some people will be getting these in the mail. We're excited for them to be getting these in the mail. They'll be with personalized messages on the back. So look forward to that. Some people will be getting these in the mail. We have, if you'd like to get a 10-pack of these cards, just email us at info@brandy4moco.com. That's BRANDY, the number 4 MOCO.com. And we'll give you a free 10-pack of postcards, and you can write messages and send those off in the mail to your friends and neighbors to send out. We also have info cards that you can send out or that you can just pass out to folks. If you'd like info cards, again, we can give you a small pack of those.
And one of the things to note on the info cards is that the 4 issues that we've been talking about are highlighted on the back of that info card. So if you want to share more with people about some of the key issues that we're working on, then you can do that by passing out this info card here.
And we haven't talked about fundraising as much this session, but it's important to note that Brandy's running under the Public Election Fund.
Absolutely.
And so one of the key things, as much as we want you to share and encourage people to support Brandy and the issues that she's supporting, which are the issues that matter in our communities, we also need your financial support. And so any amount that you can give to Brandy to help, if you're a resident in Montgomery County, because she's participating in the Public Election Fund, your contribution will be matched by the county. So by giving a contribution of $25, that becomes $125 when it's matched by the county. But in order for that matching to happen, we need 250 Montgomery County donors to give to the campaign. Right now, we have 182 donors who have given 182 Montgomery County donors who have given to the campaign. Thank you to all the great folks who have donated to our campaign. We need 68 more donors to give to the campaign, 68 more Montgomery County donors to give. If you can encourage your folks that you know who are Montgomery County donors to give any amount between $5 and $150 helps us to reach that goal. So that's what we're looking for right now. So please, any amount that you can give, that would be great. We have this ongoing campaign, which we call our High Five campaign. So if you can give an amount, you get basically a high five from the campaign. Brandy, what does a high five feel? Let's show them a high five.
Let's show them a high five. See, it's that awesome. High fives are great. Everybody loves them. We want to be giving them out to a lot of folks around Montgomery County. And so again, go to the website, brandy4montgomery.com. That's Brandy, the number 4, Montgomery.com. Click on that big blue button that says donate. You can make our 2018 donation of $20.18 in support of the campaign, or you can click on that power donor button and make a contribution of any amount, whatever works for you. We're very excited as we wrap this up to continue to reach out to folks over the course of these next 2 days now, and to connect with people, bring them into part of this movement, and to gear ourselves up for a very strong, very exciting start in 2018. And so I think with that, we're going to sign off. Thank you to Kenny and to Becky for joining us on the broadcast today. And we'll see you guys tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Time.
Thank you all.
Thank
See
you
tomorrow.
Bye.